Hey there, this is Dave Gardner, your Now Lifestyle Master Trainer, and I'm super excited to be getting into the next video with you right now. All right, and in this next video, we're going to be doing a follow-up, okay? Now, when you first came in, as we mentioned previously in the other video, okay, so you've clicked on message, you want to add on to your existing follow-up list and series so that you can continue to touch base automatically with anyone that's subscribed to you. So what you want to do first, before you go into any follow-up, you want to make sure you're in the correct campaign. So, for example, we said that we were going to go into, in our previous videos, we were using the dog lovers as our generic one. So let's make sure we're just in the correct campaign. And so now I can click Add Follow-up. When we're in Add Follow-up, and you've already been in this tab, so you're just seeing this process, but you got to make sure that that's what you do each time you come in. And so I didn't have any follow-ups there previously. So what we want to do for our first message is we want to always change our first message to a 0. And what that does is that makes it automatically go to that person as soon as they opt in. Especially if you have, for example, set up a double opt-in, which we'll talk a little bit more in the opt-in message and in some of the forms as far as double opt-in and single opt-in. So if you want, again, them to receive a message instantly or to directly go to the next page and at the same time make sure they're getting that email instantly to their inbox, you can put a 0. Okay, that's the highest recommendation. Now, when someone goes to your opt-in page, let's say they add their name, they add their email, and bam, now you have a lead. You do want them to go to that next page, but you also want to make sure that they check their email. So perhaps you have a bridge page or something on that follow-up page has a note that tells them what the email is going to be about, or maybe tells them, that the link in their email will be there as well, or also tells them that, to go check the email or to listen and to follow up for other future emails. So again, key thing, we want to have a 0 for the first message. Now, as far as our first subject, nothing's better when they first walk in, come into you, welcome, to the dog lovers group or dog lovers family. And then just to keep it simple, it's because you want to tie it into something that they physically just did. And so if they just did it, it's going to make more sense because they were just talking about it. It's fresh in their mind. So going through some of the things here, and there's different ways we can add fields. We can add fields, and we talked about custom fields before in the previous videos underneath the campaigns. And we can add fields in 2 different places. We can either add it in the subject line or we can add it in the message. So if we look at the fields, we have all the different fields that we can add. And so whether it's an address, maybe it's the signature, we talked about that in a previous video. We talked about, subscriber's first name, maybe their full name, last name, or if you're talking about maybe a membership system and something that you have, maybe there's a subscriber ID attached to it. So there's a lot that we can add here. Now, one of the easiest ones that I always like to do, of course, is, add something like, hey, and then we go down to insert fields, and then we go down to subscriber, and then we go into first name. So, hey, Bob, hey, Tom, hey, Stephanie, whatever. Notice, again, you don't have to fill in that person's name, but assuming they have actually added that in under the correct field in your opt-in form, if it was a required piece, then that would actually show up. Otherwise, it would just say, hey, kind of question mark if they didn't put any name. Just wanted to welcome into the dog lovers family. And then, of course, all your content. And then loving the dogs. Dave Gardner. All right. And then maybe your phone number or your website. Okay. Apologize for my typing here. So we got HTTP, we got, whatever, dogloversgroup.com. Whatever your website is, you can add those in there. Now, in some of the previous videos, we talked about up here with the campaigns and the messages and the follow-ups, whether they're opening them or not, or whether they're clicking on them or not. What you're going to do here, if you just show and share a link like this, and then you just save the message, the system doesn't necessarily register it. So what you want to do is actually hyperlink it and track that link. So what you want to do is actually highlight that message. Okay, so basically click your mouse on the beginning and highlight that whole message. And then you're going to go up to this thing that looks like a chain link. And you're actually going to click it, and then you're going to enter your link. And I'm going to just paste that in there. Oops, guess I forgot to copy it first. So we're going to go over here and we're going to right click on it and we're going to copy it. An alternate would be to highlight it and do Control V if you're using a PC. And we're going to, again, right click and we're going to paste, or we could have done Control V, V as in vacuum. And then we're going to save that. Now, notice there is a text to display. I can actually change the text to display. So let's just say we wanted to just say dog lovers group. I can actually change that. And notice it automatically changes it. It highlights it. It's that a typical link that you'd see is a different color. And another cool thing you can do is add images. And so if someone wants to know that, you can either go to a website and get a link. So for example, if we open up a browser and we go to dogs and we go and we grab dogs. So here's a nice picture of a dog. I'm going to open up this dog in a new tab, and with the dog, there's different ways we can go about this, getting the actual dog there. Okay, this one doesn't want to open. Let's try this one here. So let's open this dog in a new tab. And let's try to click on the image, because sometimes you can actually get the image from the internet. And so if you have a link, you can actually get the picture of your actual dog. And so just bear with me here as we try to just find one that's an actual link. And I want to see if I can open. Notice, here we go, open image in a new tab. And so there's my dog. And if I look at this, now I have a JPEG up here. I'm not sure if you can see it in the image, but this is a JPEG. I'm just going to copy in the top of your screen in your browser. You'll actually have a web address. And so I'm going to take the web address that I've copied and I paste that in there. And so notice it has a .jpeg in there. If you have .png, those are usually good image forms. Once I click out of there, it's going to register the size of the actual image. And I can actually change that. That's a really big image, 1,000 pixels wide. Let's say I only want it to be 500 wide. And I click out of the box, and that automatically adjusts that so the properties are the same. That's what constrained properties means. It means that it maintains the same proportion. And so when we click OK, now that picture is actually in my email. Okay, so that's a super cool function to be able to get someone to know you and maybe to get and recognize your group a little bit more. And so if you are going to add images, what you might want to add is something like, hey, note, be sure to click the message or click the link to allow images in your email. Okay, and then they'll be able to see it, whether it's a picture of you or whether it's a picture of the dogs. And so that's just one method. If you want to put a message or a picture in the actual body, you can do that as well. Another option is to upload. Okay, I can upload that and I can just browse the computer for an image. And so let's see here. We will look for an image. Let's see here. Bear with me here. I just want to make sure we get one that could be somewhat related, or at least appropriate for our setting and our viewers. And so let's see. Let's go into the right folder. Let's just go, we'll go into my pictures here. So let's just say you have your picture. Okay, so there's my profile picture. You grabbed a picture from your actual computer. That will upload it. So notice now the source says nowlifestyle.com because it's actually put the image actually into the actual Now Lifestyle platform. They're actually hosting your images for you, which is super cool. So again, this is really big. That would take up the whole screen. I want to shrink this down, maybe make it 300. And again, I'm going to click out. That's going to change the message so that it is all the same size. Now, for some reason, mine was upside down. So notice you could go around and you can flip it vertically. I can go through and modify the image. So now the image is correct. I can change the direction. So notice the people are on my left side. I can go through and actually change them by clicking this way, and now the people are over on this side. So there's a lot you can do. And another benefit you can actually do inside your message. Notice this is highlighted. I can actually highlight the message. All I did was I just clicked my mouse on the message once. I can go up and link that image. So again, I can go HTTP, we can do, and notice one of the recent messages I had typed before or links typed before pops up. I could add some alternate text, dog lovers group, so that when people hover over it in the message, and even right now you see that I hover over it and it pops up dog lovers group. So you can change that to anything. So let's say I want to go back and edit it, make sure it's highlighted, click here to visit the dog lovers group, or maybe click here to get your free coupon, or click here, to get your next deal, or click here for a special offer, or okay, click here to find out more, click here to the most recent blog post. Whatever you're gonna, do, you have great things you can come up and you can think about. So once we're all done, now here's something we need to follow along with, and once we're all done, we need to save our message. Okay, there's a couple things we need to do. So once we need to, once we are done, we need to go down to the bottom and we need to click add. And what that's going to do is that's going to add, and notice it refreshed the screen. It said it was successfully updated. And notice now I have my first message. Okay, welcome to the dog lovers family. Send after 0. Okay, of course, because I haven't had anyone opt in, there's no sends, there's no opens, clicks, so on and so forth. What I want to do, of course, is I want to add a few follow-ups. Now, again, as I mentioned, maybe you want to have a set amount of emails that goes out over the course of days. Perhaps you only want to send one message and you want to do all your messages by live broadcast, and that's okay. That's up to you to choose. You don't have to have many follow-ups. I would recommend having at least one so you can connect the person, and the person will have at least seen your email. Maybe they can mark the email as, they can, what they call whitelisting, or mark it as important, and so that make sure that it continues to hit your inbox. And so what we want to do, we want to just add another follow-up. So again, I'll do this one a little bit quicker. Notice these are now, every single one after this should be at least a 1, unless you definitely want to stagger and to, basically separate how often your emails go out. So the dog lovers guide to, walking your dog on a leash. Okay, because if you remember, the other campaign that I created as a test was called the dog leash buyers, right? Dog leash buyers. So tie it into something like that, Hope this finds you well. And again, we're going to go to insert field. We're going to go down to subscriber, and we're going to come up to first name. So hope you're feeling well, Stephanie, or hope this finds you well, Bob, so on and so forth. Okay, yesterday you joined our great family of dog lovers. We have a great training on walking your dog on a leash. Question mark. Now, again, you can go more in depth. I'm just doing this just for purposes of what you would do and how you actually create a follow-up. The content that you actually put in here, of course, is up to you and is geared towards your niche and your business. So again, for example, dogloversgroup.com/leash, not leech, leash training. And so you're going to send them to that free training. Okay, so again, we were going to copy over the link. We're going to copy that, so either Control C, or you could do right click and copy. And then we're going to link it. So go into this little chain link thing. We're going to link it, and we're going to Control V. We don't really have to worry about these other two at this point, and we're just going to link it right there. Now, there's a lot of other stuff you can play around with. And so if you are familiar with any, word processing software like Microsoft Word or something similar, maybe it's a Google Docs, You have all different things you can change up here. I'm not going to go into detail with all of these, but you can play around with a lot of these. So we have the different fields we can insert. If you remember the other day, we talked about a signature. I can bold these. So we got our dog lovers. I can bold it. I can take it and I could italicize it. I could underline it. Okay, if I wanted to make it a strike through. So let's say, for example, we had price. Okay, this used to cost, or this, let's see, this only costs $27, but let's take this. You often see this in marketing. They have the number. We put a strike through. Okay, this only costs $27. You notice it's, again, gets people thinking in the right mind. But today, it's just $1. Okay, get them thinking. Show that it has value, and see that they can get the dog leash training for just $1. Okay. Now I can go through and I can change the formatting. A lot of times you're going to see that people want things to be a little easier to read. I could highlight it all and I can change the size of my text. I can change the font. I want to change my font and make it look a little different, or a little bit bolder, or pop out. You can change the font. So again, it's just like using your typical word processing software. I can go through and I can change a bunch of different things. The formats is very similar. Again, we can do headings. I can change, and a lot of these are what we had seen already over here. This is kind of like a summary of all of it. And I can change different things. And like I said, it's very powerful. So the question is, what are you going to come up with when you actually do this? You can make these brilliant in your follow-ups. If you are a little more advanced, we have the HTML source code. Notice all of the little brackets and symbols that show up. And, we talked about in the previous video, the subscriber first name with the parentheses. And so we have all these. So if you know code, you can actually add code in here. If you don't worry about it. The code is automatically done for you. So again, very powerful in how you can do this. Again, we can go through and we can add a picture, and I'll show you how to do that. So we can upload a picture. I can browse for an image. So let's see, we want to put, there I am, Superman or Spider-Man. I forget which, no, Star Wars. There we go. So we want to shrink this up so it's not as big. Constrain the properties. And there I am wearing my Star Wars shirt. Okay. You can link that in there, but again, of course, you wouldn't want a Star Wars shirt, when we were talking about leash training, but hopefully you get the idea. You make a mistake, you can just delete it. All I did was just press the backspace. And the other option, again, for the video, we could go through, or for an image, for example, I could go up. Again, you're going to go up into your browser, and the top of your browser, and you're going to click a link. And so let's say, for example, we'll do a different dog picture. And so we get this nice little puppy here, and we're going to copy. Sometimes there's a copy link address. Let's open it up. We'll open it up in a new tab. It's not necessarily the link address, but when we have this here, we can see we can save the image as, we can open up the image as a copy, save the image, so on and so forth. So if you save the image, then you'd upload it as an image. Otherwise, I'm going to go up, up above in the browser where you would type in your web address. I'm going to copy the link that was there, and I'm going to come back down in my box. I'm going to click in there, and I'm going to right click, paste, and it's going to get my link. And notice there's that .jpeg right there. And so that's a pretty big file. I'm going to resize it. I'm going to cut it in half, and we have a different puppy this time. So again, now I can link my page if I want. Let's see, I want to use the same exact link. So we're going to copy this link again. Okay, we're going to right click and copy it, and then I'm going to go to my image, and I'm going to link the image by just pasting that same link. And so get your leash training for just $1. Now, again, you don't have to put anything in here, but again, it helps it so that if someone comes over the image, they hover over the image and notice that thing pops up, get your leash training for just $1. Or maybe you'd right click here to get your leash training for just $1. Now, what I want to do again at the end, every time we're done with a message, okay, so we're done with our message, maybe you signed off, I'd put my name on it, phone number, website, so on and so forth. Make sure you click the add. Once you've clicked add, it's going to refresh. We're now going to have 2 messages in there. So bam, okay, that's simple. We've spent a few minutes. We've created 2 messages. those messages are there forever. Now, like I said in the other video, these follow-up messages are meant to be something that could be used for continuity. You don't want to talk about something in your follow-up messages that relates to a current event or something that is current to a certain time or season. So, if all of your list is in a local environment, so let's say everyone on your list, you're a local business, you run a pizza shop, and so everyone lives in the same town or everyone lives within 20 to 30 miles from you. You don't, so for example, I live in New York. And in the summer, of course, it can get to 90 degrees, but we can also get days that are down into the 60s and 50s. This is degrees Fahrenheit. But in the summer, if someone opts into my list in the summer, I don't want to be talking about a winter storm. I don't want to be talking about, for example, again, if it's the summer, I don't want to be talking about, the Super Bowl and who just won the Super Bowl, because those sporting events are tied to certain times of the year. And it's also a certain team that wins. The same team doesn't win every year. So anytime you do follow-ups, make sure your follow-ups are a little more generic and can be used anytime and be seen at any point of the year and make sense to the person reading it, okay? Also, keep them pointed to an individual. Make sure you focus on one person, even though, yeah, you could be sending that email out to hundreds of thousands of people with the intent of the power of Now Lifestyle and the capabilities and the capacities you have with these tools. Make sure you focus on one person. So if you remember, in both of these cases, I put, hey, subscriber, okay? So that subscriber's name, personalize it a little bit more so it looks like I'm talking to that person individually. You would not want to write, hey guys, because then it just seems like it's going out in generic. Again, this has been Dave Gardner. Thank you for watching along with this training video. Hopefully you found some immense value. If you have any questions or comments, you can always join us and hit us up in the Facebook group or support tab up top. We really want to hear about your successes with these tools and how you're actually implementing them into your niche, because we want to help the family out. So as I always say, you get out of it what you put into it. And the big question that I always have for you is, with all these awesome tools that you have in the Now Lifestyle family, what will you create to make your legacy? And what will you create to help others so that you can make a difference in the world today?